and welcome to the Sandy Springs City Council meetings for June 4th, 2024. I am not Rusty Paul. He is out of town, so I am filling in for him. I'm John Paulson. I'm District 1 City Councilman and Mayor Pro Tem, so I get to do this about once a year. So let's start with a work session. We have one staff discussion item, Arts in the Open 2023-24 purchase recommendations. Who's doing this? Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Melissa Patterson. I'm so pleased to present our recommendations for purchase and a gift from this year's sculpture competition. The sculptures currently on display through the first week in August represent the 5th year of the annual sculpture contest. We worked with the city staff for the suggested location for each, thanks to Marla and Brent. So I'll start with the presentation. First, we'll start with, this is a gift for the city from Art Sandy Springs, and this is Caprice. Caprice is by Charles Pilkey of Mint Hill, North Carolina. I hope most of you all have seen these on the city green. So this is a colorful work of art, and the artist describes it as a work of whimsy. The suggested location is Abernathy Art Center. Next slide, please. We'll move on to the purchase recommendations for this year. Next slide. Thank you. Next is Nesting. This is by Richard Herzog of Athens, Georgia. This has become a real crowd favorite. The media is steel and driftwood. The suggested location is Morgan Falls Overlook Park. And you'll read in the artist's statement, his work explores botanical forms. This is a really special piece. You get the feeling of comfort from this piece. Again, a crowd favorite from things we've heard. Next slide. The next one is Upcycle. This is by Johnny Younkins Herzog. You'll notice the last name is the same as Rick before. So this is husband and wife. This is Johnny's Upcycle, inspired by recycling, and it celebrates cycling, whether amateur or professional or simply bike riding. The suggested location is Abernathy Greenway South. Next slide. And next is Flowing Arches. This is by Matt Moyer of Columbia, Missouri. And the suggested location is Windsor Meadows Park. Another colorful piece, but also has meaningful symbolisms with bridges and the river. So that's a total of 4, and we thank you for the consideration. Any questions?
So thank you, Melissa. There's a lot of work that goes into these decisions, and I appreciate your team's efforts and your recommendations. We'll look forward to talking further about them. Anybody from council? Councilman DeGiulio.
Yes, thank you, Melissa. Do you know how many sculptures we have around the city currently?
So since the inception of this program, again, this program is 5 years old. We've just done the call for entry for the 6th year of the contest. There are 29 pieces that have been either gifted to the city or purchased by the city. And that's excluding the playable art park. That was before this annual.
That goes back a while.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Has Art Sandy Springs one of the things we talked about when we built this building was the number of walls we had. Unfortunately, most of the walls we have here are blank. Has Art Sandy Springs thought of maybe doing some sort of a program of putting art on the walls to make our city hall look nicer? With for a long time there wasn't even pictures in the cafe, which we do have some things on the wall there now. But we got tons of walls in this building that just sit empty. Can Art Sandy Springs look at, we bring in artists and show off their works. Maybe we should ask each one of these artists who comes in, would you like to donate, or we can suggest you donate a piece of art to the city so that we can beautify this city hall, which is a beautiful piece of artwork itself.
Absolutely.
And so I think this is something that Art Sandy Springs should look into and maybe follow up on.
Absolutely, we will do that. Yes,
Thank
there
you.
have been discussions, and we will continue those conversations to put beautiful art on these walls.
Thank you.
Any, Councilman Rochelle.
Caprice, when are you planning on installing that? Because there's so much work going on over at Abernathy Arts Center.
That will be determined based on a final approval, and then we will definitely deinstall these pieces that first week of August. And as with some pieces that the city already owns or were gifted to the city for the trail, they may have to go into a storage situation. But obviously, the most opportune time and the quickest, that's safe to put a new sculpture.
Thank you.
Kelly?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Patterson. If I wanted to get a sense of which pieces didn't make the cut, is there just a short list somewhere? I probably could walk around and figure it out.
Of course, yeah. I mean,
How many didn't make the cut for y'all?
So there are 9 on
Okay.
display right now.
Mhm.
So there are 5 that didn't make the cut.
Okay.
Yeah.
And okay.
And
Do you have
I
them?
can tell you which ones they are.
All right. Yeah, I want to check them out.
Luminaria, which is up close here by City
the
Hall.
light, yeah.
Change in Direction, which is the one over on the raised plinth. The Reader, which is the small one near the splash pad. Candy for Sandy, which is the kinetic piece that's also near the splash pad. And then Digital Age, the one that has the form of a head with some characters and words.
Where are we thinking of putting nesting in Morgan Falls?
So the nesting, the exact location, I'm not exactly sure, but in talks with Marla and Brent, we thought that there would be some ideal places over in that area and that the setting at Morgan Falls would suit that.
And you said you are storing a piece that's intended to be used to be near the trail? Is
We're
that the
storing
one?
2 pieces, one that was gifted to the city by the Sandy Springs Conservancy, and then one that the city purchased last
And
year.
they'll be on the trail that we're building now near Morgan Falls, or is that the trail, or that you were
The
referring to?
Springway Trail
The
is
Springway,
my
2A.
understanding.
Okay, just
I hope
curious.
I'm saying that correctly.
Thanks.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Again, thank you, Melissa.
Thank
and
you
thank you
all.
to your team.
Okay.
All right, that's all we have for discussion items. Anybody got any city council discussion items at this time? If so, we'll call the work session to a close. So, welcome to the regular meeting of the Sandy Springs City Council. I'd like to call this meeting to order for Tuesday, June 4th, 2024. Will the city clerk please make the announcements and call the roll?
Good evening, City Council. First, I would like to remind those in attendance, please silence all cell phones and other electronic devices at this time. Individuals who would like to provide public comment at a City Council meeting are required to complete and submit a public comment card in advance of the meeting. Those public comment cards are available online and at the chamber entrance. Those providing public comment may be allotted up to 3 minutes to speak on their single chosen topic. As I call roll, please confirm your attendance. Mayor Rusty Paul is absent. Mayor Pro Tem John Paulson.
Here.
Councilmember Melody Kelly. Councilmember Melissa Mueller.
Here.
Councilmember Jody Rochelle. Councilmember Tibby DeGiulio. Councilmember Andy Bauman.
Would you please, hang on a second. Yeah, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Have we received any public comment cards?
Yes,
City
we
Clerk.
received one public comment card this evening from Mr. Bill Griffith, who's in house tonight.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and the council members, I want to apologize for not having known of the 3-minute time limit when I spoke 2 weeks ago. And I want to thank Mayor Paul for giving me a heads up as I approached that time limit. Now, regarding the Roberts Drive side path study that was presented 2 weeks ago, When I was here then, I asked, what's driving this? At that time, I wondered if unspent tax dollars was driving it. However, after further consideration, it seems that the Sandy Springs Trail Master Plan that was approved in 2019 may be what drove that side path study. I don't know the timing of acting on that side path study, but I do know that construction on part of the Trail Master Plan has already commenced. I'm here now to give you a good reason to hit the pause button and reconsider the desirability and need for the Roberts Drive side path as it's proposed. Per the aforementioned Trail Master Plan, the estimated cost was $122 million for 31.4 miles of trails. That's $3.9 million a mile, excluding property acquisition cost. Per the Roberts Drive side path study, the proposed side path is divided into two phases and covers approximately 2 miles, excluding work to be done by others, and the estimated cost is $16.5 million, which includes $900,000 of property acquisition cost. Now, as I said, the Trail Master Plan does not include property acquisition cost. Thus, removing the $900,000 of such costs from the side path study, the non-acquisition cost is $15.6 million, $7.8 million a mile. That's a 100% increase from 2019. Now, although that may not be an apples-to-apples comparison with the Trail Master Plan, I think it's a good reason to pause and reevaluate the situation. Now, phase 2 of that Roberts Drive study covers approximately 1 mile, excluding work to be done by others, at an estimated cost of $11.7 million. $11.7 million for 1 mile? There is no mention in the master plan of spending over $11.7 million for 1 mile of pathway on Roberts Drive. I think that's another good reason to pause and reevaluate. I want to discuss some tweaks to the Roberts Drive side path study that you might want to consider before proceeding. However, due to the 3-minute time limit, I'll do that at another council meeting. In the meantime, I hope you will keep your finger on the pause button as it relates to this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Griffith. That's the most in-depth study of our Trail Master Plan I think we've ever had from a citizen. Thank you. All right, do we have a motion to approve the meeting agenda?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilman DiGiulio.
I move approval of the meeting agenda for Tuesday, June 4th, 2024.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, that's a motion by Councilman DiGiulio, second by Dr. Kelly. Any comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved. I need a motion for the consent agenda.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move that we approve the consent agenda for Tuesday, June 4th, 2024.
Do we have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Melissa Mueller. Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
So the consent agenda carries. All right. Moving to public hearings. So the first item, City Clerk, will you read that, please?
Sure. This is Agenda Item 2024-135, the first public hearing on the FY 2025, this should read Budget Ordinance and Discussion. Presented by Eden Freeman, City Manager.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and members of council. Tonight is the first public hearing that is required under Georgia law for the adoption of our FY25 budget. I do not have a formal presentation as the materials have been published online for a couple of weeks, and a copy of the proposed budget is also in the lobby of City Hall for any residents that might be interested. The budget message is also published, as well as the budget ordinance document, along with the line item detail for the proposed budget in tonight's agenda materials. I'm happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Thank you. Any questions? Is there public comment? Have you received any public comment cards on this item?
We have not received any public comment cards for this item.
Thank you. Well, folks, you have 2 weeks. If you have comments, send them in. We will approve this, hopefully, at the next meeting.
Okay, can I ask a Oh,
Go
you're
ahead,
right.
Dr. Kelly.
I didn't. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So will there be a presentation in a council meeting
We presented that at the last meeting.
at our special meeting? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. But if you have questions, I'm happy to go through those. You can send them to me, and we can have response at our next meeting before you all take a vote. Or if you want to ask them now, I can do my best to answer from the floor.
Okay. So for members of the public who may not have caught our special meeting, they can just view it online, obviously, and come to City Hall and see the budget.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I do have a question. Not sure it's truly budget related, but it's about, I'm curious about the way we approach marketing, like for the various departments. Is marketing centralized, or does everyone kind of?
So in general, marketing falls under our Communications and Public Relations Department. However, the Performing Arts Center does have a marketing, two people who work in marketing for marketing the events that are held by our Performing Arts Center. They do, however, partner with our Communications and Public Relations staff, especially on branding and messaging, to ensure that we are consistent across the city.
Okay. Thank you.
Melissa Mueller.
So, Eden, question on, or will we be able to get an updated slide that has the city's investment? We talked about the capital projects plus the T-Splost. I don't know if that's
Yes,
available.
ma'am. After the budget is adopted, or
Okay.
we can go ahead and prepare one for the next meeting and show FY25 as proposed.
Okay, because I think that's important for the residents to see the investment that the city has made since we've become a city.
Absolutely.
Anything else? All right, so we're going to pick this up in 2 weeks. City Clerk, next item.
Agenda item 2024-136. This is consideration of a resolution to approve a Metropolitan River Protection Act certificate for River Corridor Review, RC 2401SS, for property located at 380 Ferry Landing, presented by Planning and Zoning Manager Michelle McIntosh Ross.
Yes, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. For your consideration is the approval of a resolution to authorize a Metropolitan River Protection Act certificate for the property located within the Chattahoochee River Corridor area at 380 Ferry Landing, a .68-acre single-family lot in the River Chase neighborhood. The applicant is proposing to construct a pool plus a new garage. The Atlanta Regional Commission has reviewed this application and considered the comments provided by the National Park Service and rendered the finding that the project is consistent with the Chattahoochee River Corridor Plan. Given this determination, it is staff's recommendation to the Mayor and City Council to approve this resolution to authorize a Metropolitan River Protection Act certificate for the property located at 380 Ferry Landing.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments? Thank you. All right, so I need a motion. Whose is this?
District 6.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem, I move that we adopt, are you recognizing me?
I got it.
Move that we
Councilman
adopt,
Baumann, go ahead.
move that we adopt agenda item 2024-136, approving the Metropolitan River Protection Act certificate for RC 24-01SS at 380 Ferry Landing.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Melissa Mueller. Any comments? Any public comments? Any comments from anybody? All right, hearing none. I move that we approve agenda item 2024-136, resolution to approve the Metropolitan River Protection Act certificate for River Corridor Review RC 2401SS for property located at 380 Ferry Landing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
City Clerk, would you read the next item?
This is agenda item number 2024-137, ABL number 27233. Consideration of approval of an alcoholic beverage license application for J&K Italian LLC doing business as Pendolino at 4600 Roswell Road, Building B, Sandy Springs, Georgia 30342. The applicant is Kevin Maxey for consumption on the premises, beer, wine, and distilled spirits, presented by Chief Financial Officer Tony Carlisle.
Ms. Carlisle.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem,
and City Council. This is a new application for consumption on the premises of beer, wine, and distilled spirits. J&K Italian LLC, DBA Pendolino, 4600 Roswell Road, Suite B, 150, Sandy Springs, Georgia, 30342. The applicant, Kevin Maxey, has met all requirements, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you. City Clerk, do we have any public comments?
We do not.
Thank you. All right, so we need a motion.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilman Baumann.
this being District 6 night apparently, and on that first one, I apologize. I forgot that was part of the expanded District 6. I move adoption of Agenda Item 2024-137, request for the alcoholic beverage license for J&K Italian, DBA Pendolino, at 4600 Roswell Road in the New Gateway, and I've enjoyed that restaurant very much so far, so that's my motion.
Thank you. So we have a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Councilman DeGiulio. Any comments other than it's good? Fantastic. All right. Hearing none, I have a motion. We need to approve item 2024-137, approval of alcoholic beverage license applications for J&K Italian, doing business as Pendolino, 4600 Roswell Road, Building B. Applicant is Kevin Maxey for consumption on the premises, beer, wine, and distilled spirits. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We've got to get down there, actually. All right. City Clerk, would you read the next item?
Agenda item number 2024-138. This is ABL number 109078. Consideration of approval of an alcoholic beverage license application for Cuban Sandy Springs LLC's doing business as Polanco Taqueria at 4920 Roswell Road, Suite 47, Sandy Springs, Georgia, 30342. The applicant is Gustavo Martinez for consumption on the premises for wine, malt beverages, and distilled spirits, presented by Chief Financial Officer Tony Carlisle.
Ms. Carlisle.
This is a new application for consumption on the premises of wine, malt beverage, and distilled spirits. Cuban Sandy Springs LLC, DBA Polanco Taqueria, 4920 Roswell Road, Suite 47, Sandy Springs, Georgia, 30342. The applicant, Gustavo Martinez, has met all requirements, and staff does recommend approval.
Thank you. Have we received any public comments? Thank you. All right.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilman Baumann.
I move approval, Agenda Item 2024-138, alcoholic beverage license for Cuban Sandy Springs LLC, DBA Polanco Taqueria, 4920 Roswell Road.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Motion by Councilman Baumann, second by Councilman DeGiulio. Any comments?
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
This is in the Fountain Oaks Shopping Center. While I have not eaten there yet, is Gustavo here? Anybody here? No. I've met him. Great vibe. Encourage people to try it out. They're really trying to be a part of the community, and suggest people give it a try. I look forward to trying it out myself.
Fantastic. Our hearing none, I call a motion for 2024-130, our vote for 138, approval of alcoholic beverage license application for Cuban Sandy Springs, doing business as Polanco Taqueria, 4920 Roswell Road, Sandy Springs, Georgia. The applicant is Gustavo Martinez for consumption on premises, wine, malt beverages, distilled spirits. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving to new business. City Clerk, would you please read the item?
Agenda item number 2024-139. This is consideration to approve an intergovernmental agreement by and between the City of Sandy Springs, the Lumpkin County Board of Commissioners, and the Lumpkin County Sheriff's Office for the housing of inmates, and to authorize the mayor to execute the agreement. This is presented by Major Michael Lindstrom.
Good evening. Probably at the end of last year, we were notified by Pickens County that they were no longer going to be in the jail business, or with us for that matter, and discontinuing our relationship. So in 2024, we've been only utilizing Smyrna Jail, being that we wanted to have a backup plan and a place that we could take sentenced inmates for longer periods of time for a cheaper cost. This will be $20 less per head. We spent several months calling different sheriff's departments around the surrounding area, moving out past the metro area to get a smaller price point, and found Lumpkin County. We met with the sheriff, the undersheriff, and his leadership there, and had a really great exchange. We utilized Pickens County IGA for our basis, and they reviewed it and found that to be acceptable. And so I stand here before you with
Thank you, Major.
yes, sir.
All right, with that, I need a motion.
Mr. Mayor, Pro Tem,
Councilman DeGiulio.
I move approval of item 2024-139, approve it, an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Sandy Springs and Lumpkin County Board of Commissioners and the Lumpkin County Sheriff's Office for housing inmates, and authorize the mayor to execute the agreement.
Thank you, Councilman. I need a second.
I'll say.
Councilman Rochelle, second. Any discussion? Tibby?
Major, the agreement with Pickens County was on for less than 10, 15 years, and I think it worked out really well. And I hope this one is just as successful as that one was. And I assume we have no reason to believe it won't be.
Not at all, sir. You're exactly right. I think since 2015, we were working with Pickens County, and our city had an excellent relationship with the county and their leadership there. I think it's probably the reason why we went up there prior to going through any paperwork. Captain Finley and I went up and met with the leadership up there and had an excellent meeting with them. I think, as a lot of people do already know who the Sandy Springs Police is, so I think that probably made it a little easier for the agreement to take place as well.
Great, good job.
Yeah, I had a question. If it's
Go ahead.
okay, thank you for recognizing me.
Sure.
I just wanted to make sure I understood. This would be backup, like a backup location. Smyrna is still primary?
Smyrna would be our primary, especially as we're having arrests and taking them right to jail immediately because of the length that we would have to drive for Lumpkin County. This would be more for longer sentenced incarcerated inmates, so to speak. So if you can envision someone that's going to be sentenced to 5-6 months, we would want to take them up to Lumpkin County.
Is it much further?
It actually is, when we were looking at the mileage as far as Pickens and Lumpkin County, I think everyone thinks that Lumpkin County is pretty far. It's a straight shot up 400.
Okay.
It really is no further away than Pickens, and it seems to be an easier drive. Probably another reason why Captain Finley and I went up there, so we can actually say we made that drive, and it wasn't that hard.
And this IGA gets renewed annually? Or?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thanks.
Councilman Bauman.
So let me understand, what are the numbers? How many people are we talking about? Do you know the numbers annually?
I don't. It varies.
Okay.
And of course, a few years back we had a few years that just kind of changed everything about the numbers.
Okay.
As far as the COVID years and so forth. And so we're looking at, obviously, it's
So when we make arrests and have to take somebody other than an investigation, because we can do some investigations, we can hold somebody for a number of hours at our headquarters and certainly at the new headquarters. We have, I guess we have two or three places we can go. One, you can take them down to Fulton for a felony, right?
Correct. Yes, sir.
And then you can take them to Smyrna, typically pending a hearing, whether it's the next day or a couple of days later, in our municipal court, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then typically Lumpkin County would be somebody has been processed or it's an overflow, and then they've received a sentence of, and they might go up to Lumpkin at that point.
Correct. And typically your longer sentences.
That's right.
So
Longer municipal sentences.
correct.
Right.
And another thing that we wanted to add with, that we did not have with Pickens County, we added with Lumpkin County, is a backup, a safety clause, if you will, where if there were to be anything that happened at Smyrna, Lumpkin would agree to take the inmates that we had at Smyrna.
Well, thank you very much.
Councilman Rochelle?
Is there a maximum amount of time that they can be in Lumpkin County?
Well, no, I mean, typically the maximum amount of time someone may get sentenced for a misdemeanor or a city ordinance violation would be around 6 months. Lumpkin County does, as Pickens did, have 2 for 1. So if they're up there behaving themselves, they'll shave off their sentences a bit. It kind of works well for everyone, especially the deputies that have to deal with the inmates on a regular basis. So they have a very good incentive for the inmates to behave. So you could go, if max sentence, might be a 6-month sentence might be cut to 3 months.
And so misdemeanors don't go to Fulton County. Felonies go to Fulton
Yes,
County.
ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Major. So I need a vote on item number 2024-139, approve an intergovernment agreement by and between the City of Sandy Springs, the Lumpkin County Board of Commissioners, and the Lumpkin County Sheriff's Office for the housing of inmates, and authorize mayor to execute the agreement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, sir.
Go. Thank you. Will the clerk read the next item?
Agenda item number 2024-140. This is consideration of a resolution authorizing the City of Sandy Springs to enter into the service level agreement between the cities of Alpharetta, Johns Creek, Milton, Roswell, Sandy Springs, and EMS Ventures, Inc., American Medical Response, for the provision of emergency medical services and to authorize the mayor to execute the same and for other purposes. Presented by Fire Chief Keith Sanders.
Afternoon, Chief.
Mayor Pro Tem, council members, good evening. Before you is a request and consideration and approval of a resolution authorizing the City of Sandy Springs to enter into the service level agreement with the North Fulton Cities and EMS Ventures, better known as American Medical Response, for the provision of providing emergency medical services. The fire chiefs of North Fulton, as well as the city managers, have collaborated over the past year and drafted the agreement that's before you, which has been shared with AMR and is currently under legal review by the attorneys representing each city. And the major terms of the agreement is, as discussed in previous conversations, is a 12-minute emergency response time by the ambulance, and to put at ease those who may not know, but the fire department is ALS, and it will continue to respond within its 8 minutes or less 90% of the time to emergency incidences as well. And then 20 minutes response times for the minor non-emergency incidences. The ambulance service will ensure that 90% of the ambulances will be able to provide advanced life support care. This involves ensuring that at least one of the attendees that are on the ambulance is a paramedic, and the other one with a basic EMTI or advanced EMT. And then also there's an option in the contract for AMR to provide, at a city's request, a medical response unit that they can house at a local fire station. In the contract also is potential for liquidated damages that can be assessed to AMR should they not meet the 90% response time. And also there is also a provision in there to allow cities to pay for unit hours for special events that would be additional costs should we need to staff or to have an ambulance at certain city functions. In return of this, there is a subsidy that the North Fulton cities are agreeing to pay AMR in the total annual cost of $2,057,011. This is split between 50-50 split between a blended of 3-year average of calls for service and the population. The City of Sandy Springs subsidy annually is $670,379.08, and that will be divided out in equal 12-month payments. I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Chief. Do I have a motion?
Mayor
Paulson?
Dr. Kelly.
All right. I move approval of agenda item 2024-140, a resolution authorizing the City of Sandy Springs to enter into the service level agreement between the cities of Alpharetta, Johns Creek, Milton, Roswell, Sandy Springs, and EMS Ventures for the provision of emergency medical services, and to authorize the mayor to execute and other purposes.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Melissa Mueller. Any comments, Dr. Kelly?
Kind of forgot mine. Oh, I wanted to add, I had one question about the MRU. We have an MRU, right?
We have ordered an MRU. It will be here probably the summer of 2025.
But it belongs to us, right? It's not
That
provided
one
by.
will belong to us.
Oh, right. You're saying in addition to that one, a city can.
The city can have one, at one of the fire stations. We will probably have them stage one at Station 2 until our new unit gets here.
Okay, and then when our unit gets here, what will you do with the one? That they
We'll
have?
probably leave it at one of our stations just as a reserve in case we need that.
Mhm.
But we plan to staff our MRU, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week once that gets here.
Thank you.
Ms. Mueller?
Chief, does our current contract have liquidated damages in it?
It does.
And what's the history of that? Just curious.
The history is that the good news is under the current contract that we are with AMR, and since the inception of it, we have not had to assess any liquidated damages toward AMR. They have consistently met their 90 percentile with the city of Sandy Springs.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Ms. Rochelle.
Hi, Chief. I know you worked so hard on this, and I appreciate it. And I wanted to ask you, you said that, I want to try to understand, you said that for emergencies, we're going to have an 8-minute response time. Is that with the MRU, or is that
We will
now?
continue, today, our apparatus, all of our trucks, engines and ladder trucks, are staffed with at least one paramedic. We have all the ALS intervention as far as the drugs, the equipment, everything except an ability to transport.
Okay.
We, on average, arrive on the scene before the ambulance does, and within that 8 minutes, 90% of the time. We will continue to do that. And as I've shared with you, that in June the 18th, there'll be another part of this community paramedicine program. He will present you something at the next council meeting that will also help enhance our response and remove some of those non-emergency calls out of the 911 system. But overall, the fire department is going to continue to do what it's always done. And we will stabilize the patient, and that's what we've always done, and we'll continue to do that. As I've shared in the past, only 6% of all emergency calls are ever transported from the place where the incident has occurred back to the hospital emergency, because the patient is usually stabilized there, or it's not that urgent to get them to the hospital.
Thank you. I just think it's important for people to know we're still going to get there, because
That's
4
exactly
minutes
right.
can seem like a lifetime if you're having an emergency.
We're still going to respond.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else? All right, hearing none. I need a motion to approve 2024-140, authorizing the City of Sandy Springs to enter into the service level agreement between the City of Alpharetta, Johns Creek, Milton, Roswell, Sandy Springs, and EMS Ventures for the provisions of emergency medical services, and to authorize mayor to execute other purposes. And I have a question. I should have brought this up. Does everybody else all the other cities sign this thing already? And what happens if they don't? Or are they all planning on it? How does this work?
So we have this timed out. Alpharetta approved it last night. Sandy Springs is tonight. Johns Creek is the 17th of June, and Roswell is slated to approve it June 24th. Milton is also June 17th. So we've got it timed for each of the cities to coincide with the meeting schedule.
Okay, perfect. So, all in favor of item 2024-140, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Good job, Chief. Thank you very much. All right, moving to Reports. The only report I have is Mayor's out of town. He'll be back in 2 weeks. I don't have anything else at this point. Any, Councilman Bauman?
Thank you, Mayor Protem. Good job tonight, by the way.
Thank you.
Eden, this was an eventful weekend in Midtown Atlanta with the major water break. It's about a year ago that we had a, now by comparison, maybe a lesser event, but nonetheless really significant event. And I just wanted to ask you to reflect on the past year when we talked about communication. And this, I mentioned to you we were going to ask. So if you have anything you can share with us about how you guys did an after action last year, because I don't think we really had a public conversation about this since that time. And if there's anything you can share for our community, this didn't affect us, but maybe lessons we've learned and how you can reflect on the past year and anything you can update us and the community on.
Sure. As Mayor Pro Tem and Council is aware, our water is provided by the City of Atlanta, and we did have a very similar event last Father's Day that started at about 6 a.m. in the morning with a rupture of a 48-inch line that comes from the Johns Creek plant, which provides the water that serves approximately 75% of the city of Sandy Springs. There is a small portion of the southwest corner of Sandy Springs that receives their water from the Hemp Hill plant, which is the same plant that services Midtown and downtown Atlanta. The water main ruptures that happened in Atlanta over the weekend were not directly related to the plant. They were related, from all media reports, to the age of the infrastructure. So the water system that we currently have is owned and operated by the City of Atlanta. After the events of last Father's Day, we quickly convened all of our appropriate teams and were in constant communication with the folks with the City of Atlanta watershed about the progress with the repair. While we were only without water for about 30 hours, the boil water advisory did go on for an extended period of time as the EPD monitored and determined when that could be lifted, similar to what they're doing now. We quickly made an addendum to our emergency operations plan, and from that developed a communications plan that we put in place when these type of incidents occur. Immediately upon notice of some type of incident, whether this is a water, a natural disaster, or some other type of event that might happen with the city, we're immediately going to notify mayor and council. Then we are going to utilize our communications tools that we have in place, such as our emergency notifications. So if folks have not signed up for the Sandy Springs alerts, please do that. That's going to be our first primary thing.
Do you have the numbers? That was one thing that I wanted to ask you is, do we know where we stand on that? Because we've all, at different times, pushed that out. Do we have pretty good penetration on that, or do we have a long way to go?
We have a ways to go. We are going to be transitioning this year to a new provider, away from Rave Mobile Safety to Everbridge. Everbridge provides some more robust communication tools that will be able to get our messages out more quickly, and we'll be doing a big marketing push to get more folks signed up once we do make that transition. But we do still have Rave Mobile Safety, and all of those contacts will be migrating into Everbridge. No, you will not have to sign up in the new system when we transition to that. So after we realized that this was a major issue last year, again, we quickly moved to put in place communication with our residents. We don't control the water system. We are dependent upon Atlanta. I want to stress that we have to work within the system that we have, but we do prioritize keeping our residents informed. We utilize all of our communication channels at our disposal, which includes our emergency notifications, city emails. Sign up for those if you haven't had a chance to sign up for them. We also utilize social media, Twitter, or X as it is now known, Instagram, Facebook, Nextdoor, all of the platforms to make sure that we get the information out as broadly as possible.
Well, thank you very much. And I think either Dan or somebody told you, or you said, a calamity is a calamity. I mean, there are things that are going to be beyond our control. I think the lesson from last year, and even for the city of Atlanta this weekend, I mean, is this communication piece. There's only so much you can do, and it sounds like they responded, as best they could under very trying circumstances, and it'll be the same thing here. The part we do control is the communication, so I really appreciate that update, and I think the citizens can handle that. They just want to be communicated with
Agreed.
and know, have expectations set and get transparent information. So thank you for that. That sounds like we've made good progress on that front.
We have.
Any other reports, folks? Yes. Dr. Kelly.
Yes, I have a few things to report. It occurred to me I wasn't here 2 weeks ago. That's why I didn't get the reference that the gentleman made in the public comment. My daughter graduated high school, so I'm officially almost sort of free. Speaking of freedom, come the June 19th. Our Fleet Center, we had our ribbon cutting for the Fleet Center, which really looks great. So I just wanted to commend staff on that. I really appreciate the security fencing, which also looks really good. Tomorrow, I'm looking forward to our update on the police headquarters. Had a great time at the farmers market Saturday with our nonprofits and my council colleagues as well. That was actually really fun. I feel the need to say that. On Thursday, looking forward to Food That Rocks, which is like my favorite event of the year. I'm just going to be honest. And also, speaking of Juneteenth, we are looking for volunteers if anyone's interested. M. Kelly at sandyspringsga.gov. Thanks.
So that's a good plug right there. All right. Anything else, folks? All right. Staff reports. Do we have any staff reports?
Just one.
Ms. Carlisle.
Okay, so this is the review of the March 2024 unaudited financials. We're at 75% of the budget year. Revenues are at 96.74%, shown on pages 8 and 9. And expenditures are at 63.73% of the budget. The core revenues shown on page 1 are represented as shown through March 31st. For the expenditures, while reviewing the line items, you'll probably notice that we have lines that are exceeding 100% at this point. No need to be alarmed. This is normal at this time of year. When you look at the overall budgets for the department, we're between 54 and 71%, so they're still being managed as expected. Just a reminder that the bank account balances as of 3/31 are shown on page 2. The interest earnings are shown on page 3 through 5, and the local option sales tax trend are shown on page 6. And this concludes your financial report for March 2024.
Thank you. Any questions? Any other reports, City Manager? All right. So we have an executive session tonight covering real estate and litigation. As is common, we will go into executive session and come back, and there'll be no further action other than adjourning. But with that said, I need a motion to move us into executive session. Who wants to do that? Councilman Najulu moves we move into executive session. Do I have a second? Second, Councilman Rochelle. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, folks, we're in executive session. We're going to reconvene when we get done, but there'll be nothing further to discuss. Thanks for coming tonight. Just we need another. Councilman Bauman.
Never do this. It's my first time. I move that we leave executive session and return to regular order.
All right, there's a motion on the table to close out executive session and return to regular order. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
A second by Dr. Kelly and the motion by Councilman Bauman. Any discussion? Hearing none, call the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Councilman Bauman.
I move that we adjourn.
And second by Jody Rochelle. All in favor? Aye. Fantastic. Thanks, folks. Thanks for being indulgent of me running this thing. And Rocky, I'll sign all this stuff right now.